What if everything you thought you knew about Saturn was wrong? For centuries, Saturn has been feared as a harsh force that is limiting, bringing challenges, loss, and suffering. But could it be that there is more to Saturn than we have been told and that Saturn's energy simply has been misunderstood? In this video, we will be uncovering the truth about the energy of Saturn. We will be exploring its positive side that is often overlooked. The energy of Saturn can be used to improve your life, to live more meaningful life that is more true and authentic to who you really are. So let's dive in. When I first started to learn astrology in 2016, I learned that Saturn represents difficulty, delays, challenges, suffering, and hardships. I learned that Saturn's transits are difficult and bring challenges. Even worse, old Vedic astrology books teach that Saturn is the Great Malefic, as if it would be some evil villain in a hero story. But I had a hard time to accept this view about Saturn. That wasn't my experience with this wonderful planet at all. This wasn't the way how Saturn manifested for me. Saturn in my chart is in Sagittarius 4th house, conjunct Uranus, making opposition aspect to the Moon conjunct Chiron in the 10th house. Planets in angular houses like 1, 4, 7, and 10 become more prominent in a person's life and makes person more attuned to this energy. If you think about radio station, then being attuned to the planet could be like listening to the radio station in its frequency. Moon too is very personal planet, so I have been attuned to learning Saturn lessons, but my experience with this planet is not like they teach in the books. I don't see Saturn as bad planet at all. My experience is different, and I have been asking the question, why did they perceive Saturn in this way? Could it be that the astrologers of the past were looking only at the half-truth and taking it for the whole truth? Could it be that they misunderstood it? I also wanted to understand if this is the case, then why was the Saturn misunderstood? But to understand this, we need to take a step back and understand it in the context of history. Here are the answers that my inquiry into why brought. It seems like not only Earth goes around the Sun in an orderly manner, but humanity's mind and awareness follows a cycle too. Initially, it was hard to make sense of why there are two zodiacs, the tropical and sidereal. Tropical based on seasons and sidereal based on actual constellations in the sky. Then I learned that these two zodiacs actually form 25 to 26,000 year cycle. About little more than 2,000 years ago, these zodiacs were aligned and both were 0 degrees Aries. That represents the beginning of the spring, and that is symbolizing the beginning of year according to the tropical zodiac. This cycle results from the movement of stars and constellations around the black hole in the galactic center. Each sign takes about 2,100 years. In about 200 years, the tropical Aries will be aligned with 29.9 degrees Aquarius and will enter the sign. We already see the changes taking place in humanity right now. Human society has embraced technology like never before. And this change started to take place not so long ago, like about 200 years ago with the invention of electricity that made it all possible. Uranus and Saturn are both rulers of the Aquarius sign. One of the symbols of Uranus is electricity, the lightning bolt. If Pisces is represented by the ocean, then Aquarius could be seen as decentralized network of computers, all communicating with each other. All being equal. We can see the appearance of decentralized cryptocurrencies too since 2008 banking crisis that some banks were just too big to fail. This illustrates that consciousness of all life on Earth actually follows cycles. This 25 to 26,000 year cycle is called the Great Year, and if you're interested, you can find more information about it in a book called The Holy Science, written by Swami Sri Yukteswar in 1894. Looking back at the history, it looks like the dark ages of human mind were actually around Middle Ages, when fear was running rampant in the human consciousness. People were so scared that they were accusing others of being witches and being burnt on a fire. No one was safe. It was also the time when there seems to be most injustice taking place, because the test if someone was a witch or not was simply ridiculous. Then, in contrast to this, we have Egyptian pyramids, temples of ancient Inca, Aztecs, and so on, that show advanced civilizations existing and living on Earth before. Civilizations who seem to have a lot more understanding about how the world operates than us humanity being alive today. All this supports the existence of cycles of consciousness of humanity. We are now entering a new cycle. I wanted to bring this up to illustrate that it seems that the darkest times have passed us, and that during these times it seems like the fear was running rampant in the human consciousness, and that was what they were focusing on. This fear too explains why Saturn was perceived as the villain that brings suffering and difficulties. This interpretation came from a fear-based thinking. It is time to correct this view on Saturn. What follows is my truth about this planet. You are not asked to agree or disagree with my view. I'm not claiming this is an absolute truth. This is the truth, how I see it, and you are welcome and even encouraged to make your own mind about this planet or anything that I'm saying. Don't let anyone think for you. Make your own truth. But what I do hope that this video helps you to see the bigger picture, helps to put things into context for you, and brings a new type of understanding to you about this wonderful planet Saturn. So what is my truth about Saturn? I see Saturn as a principle of limitation, or as a force of limitation. Like any force, it is not good or bad, but really it is neutral. Like, is wind good or bad? If it manifests as good or bad, actually depends from the consciousness using it. Also, the consciousness observing it, and whether or not the consciousness observing it misunderstood it by taking appearances for truth and not digging deeper for the truth behind that appearance, and thus assign a meaning that is based only on appearance, or were they able to see the whole picture? I came to understand that the forces they were calling as malefic forces in astrology really were liberating forces. Saturn has a power to both bind and to liberate. This force is what enables spirit to take the physical form, since what is boundless and eternal is being limited to time and space when incarnation in a physical body or matter takes place. Without Saturn, we would not have any physical universe or form in the first place. Interestingly, in Major Arcana, Saturn is represented by the last of the Major Arcana cards, the World card. Limitation imposed on a space dimension on space-time continuum is a human being having a physical body. It takes up certain amount of space. The negative associations of Saturn seems to come by only associating it with the limitations of the human body when taken from the negative perspective only. Yet the same body is what enables us to have a physical experience here in the first place. It allows us to enjoy good food, to feel wind in our face and warmth of the sun on our skin. As humanity, we haven't been fully appreciating this fact, the miracle of life, that having the physical body allows us to experience. I am feeling grateful to be here in the first place. Grateful for all the trillions of cells working perfectly together so that I can be here in the first place, having a human experience. The limitation imposed on a physical body is the one of time. We all start our life as a fertilized cell being grown and developed in the womb. We are born as a baby and continue to grow and mature as the time goes on. We have been given a limited time here on Earth. This is consistent with the ancient Greeks representing Saturn as Kronos, the lord of time. That was a king of gods eating its own children and superseded by Zeus, the Jupiter. When you consider the story from the perspective that the spirit that is eternal, present everywhere in the universe, existing outside time and space, yet being limited to the physical universe and time when incarnated, the story of Cronus eating its own children as a linear time that is passing suddenly takes a completely new level of depth. Talking about limitations of time, there are also certain limitations imposed at different years of age too. Many of them we start to understand only when we become older and gather life experience. Some of these limitations correlate to astrological events too. Like planet Jupiter takes about 12 years to go around the zodiac, so around or after our first Jupiter return we become teenagers. Then Saturn takes about 27 to 30 years to go around the zodiac, so we get our first Saturn return in about when we are 30 years old, and the second Saturn return in our 60s. These times are often marked with great changes in our life. Like in my first Saturn return, I was feeling stuck in the job I was working in. I didn't see any growth or future for me there, and that prompted me to get my master's degree in psychology in Birkbeck University of London. I was going to work in the morning and after work going to university 2 to 3 times a week. I also broke up with my ex because I came to realize I wasn't feeling happy in this relationship at all, and nothing I was doing was good enough. Through this experience, I met new people, I learned many things, and found an opportunity that allowed me to become a software developer. Something I had wanted for a long time, but I didn't know how to get there. I am so grateful for my Saturn return. It changed the direction of my life for the best. It allowed me to liberate myself from the patterns and things that I had outgrown, and allowed me to go into a direction that is truly fulfilling for me, to find a relationship that is truly fulfilling, and where I am loved for who I am, and where I can completely be myself. It allowed me to find a job that felt challenging enough for me. Saturn taught me how to believe in myself and what I think and feel matter. It taught me to love myself and choose that which will make me happiest in the long term, that I am responsible for my own happiness. Saturn's lessons I learned around this time made all the difference in my life. I learned also the power of saying no. Saturn also taught me self-respect and self-honesty. I am truly grateful for the lessons of Saturn. They changed my life for the best, and I feel they made me a more mature and simply a better human being in general too. I learned that Saturn's power of limitation can help to bring more balance to my life. Too much of anything is not good for us. Saturn allows us to become aware of where the excess or lack is, and he gives us the power and discipline to implement required changes in our life. Saturn can be a positive force for a personal development, especially when you become aware that you have some habit that results in excess. Let's say talking too much, or consuming too much alcohol, or overeating. In that case, the liberating force of Saturn could be used to implement limitations and discipline over your own actions. You are likely doing it out of habit. Saturn gives you ability and power to change the habit one day at a time. Habits are behaviors so ingrained in us that it is essentially automatic. For this reason, when you work on changing your habits, there will be times that you will forget your good intentions and go back to your previous habitual behavior. If this happens, know that this is normal. Forgive yourself, and when you deviate from your course, determine to go back to your initial intention. You bring change of habit in your life one day at a time, patiently and slowly. That is how Saturn operates. It gives you power to bring change in your life in the long term. You need to persist for at least 30 days to build a new habit, and Saturn is a force that allows you to change your habit over time and replace the old one with new ones that are better suited for you. I have observed that one thing that works against changing habits seems to be memory. We simply forget our initial good intention that we had in the beginning. What is helpful in this case is to either select or even better make an object, artwork, or anything dedicated to this attention that will serve you as a reminder. Put it in a place where you can often see it, so that it can keep reminding you about your positive intention. When working to change habits, you also need the power of determination. You need to determine where you are now and where you want to be, and implement an action that is closing this gap. You can't expect that the gap will be closed in one day, but work towards it one day at a time. This is Saturn's way, working towards something big, slowly, and one day at a time. Like the saying that the million-mile journey starts with a single step. You are the one who needs to make the first step. So many people never make it because the journey on the surface level seems very long and almost impossible. But Saturn teaches that everything is possible. But to get there, you need to take small action every day. For that, you need persistence and determination. Saturn teaches that life is a marathon and not a sprint. You can know if you are using Saturn in a positive way in your life by observing how using this force makes you feel. You know that you are on the right path when you are using the limiting power of Saturn, and it makes you feel good about yourself. You feel a sense of achievement, like you did something difficult that most people would consider impossible. But for you, it was possible because you worked towards it one step at a time. If using the limiting power of Saturn makes you feel bad about yourself, then you might be on a detour and deviated from the main road. You are then asked by Saturn to be honest with yourself, to reflect on what personal desire are you trying to achieve using Saturn and why. What is the true and deeper underlying desire that will benefit all people involved in the situation? Jupiter energy helps to balance Saturn that is not operating at its highest. And Jupiter is the force of expansion. You are being asked to see the bigger picture, to look at the things in the long term and consider the long-term consequences of your actions. Don't you want to feel good about yourself? Time to be honest with yourself and see the bigger picture. To summarize, Saturn has been misunderstood by the human mind due to the fear. The power of limitation has positive aspects that allow you to say no to the things and people that you feel are not for you. In this way, you're using the power of Saturn to liberate you for that which you feel in your heart is not good for you and is not meant for you. Saturn's gifts are discipline, self-honesty, self-respect. Self-honesty results in self-awareness and self-knowledge. Saturn teaches to take responsibility for your own happiness. Don't expect other people to make you happy. Instead, understand what makes you happy and pursue it. Saturn asks you to embrace the short-term discomfort because doing so will have a long-term benefit for you. The biggest change you can do that will turn Saturn from your enemy to your friend is to change your own attitude towards this planet. Saturn is not your enemy. He helps you to grow and makes you a better human being. He gives you your self-respect, and through the power of his discipline, he allows you to achieve that which seemed impossible. If this video was helpful to you, press thumbs up. That helps to support this channel. If you enjoyed this content, consider subscribing. More astrology videos are coming. Thank you for watching, and I hope you make friends with Saturn after this video. Bye!